Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sandag Imperial Avenue Bikeway Virtual Construction Information Session. That's a mouthful. We're going to give people a few minutes to join, so just bear with us for about 2 or 3 minutes. We're really excited to have you with us tonight. Thank you for being here. Nice to see some familiar names. Thank you all for joining us. Like I said, we'll get started in just a minute once we have a few more people join. Okay, with that. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sandag Imperial Avenue Bikeway Virtual Construction Information Session. Looks like we're at critical mass, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Rachel Forsyth, and I'll be your moderator this evening. We have a lot of great information in store that our Sandag Active Transportation Program Manager, Chris Kluth, will be sharing, in addition to support from a lot of people behind the scenes, including our resident engineer from Kleinfelder. But before we start the presentation, I'd like to go through a few housekeeping items. Just so you know, this is a repeat of information from a session we provided back in April. So if you attended that one, welcome back to the matinee. We're glad to have you, but it is a recap with the exact same information. We have Spanish interpretation available this evening, so I'm going to turn it over to our interpreter, Diana, to explain the process before we continue.
Announcement from interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, the world, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish flow in the background. Aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación, y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Anna. We really appreciate your help. Thanks for being here. As a reminder, we are committed to equity, and we would like to share with you our equity statement before we begin. At Sandag, we hold ourselves accountable to the communities we serve. We acknowledge we have much to learn and much to change. We firmly uphold equity and inclusion of every person in the San Diego region. This includes historically underserved and systemically marginalized groups impacted by actions and inactions at all levels of our government and society. We have an obligation to eliminate disparities and ensure that safe, healthy, accessible, and inclusive opportunities are available to everyone. We're committed to creating a San Diego region where everyone who works, visits, and lives can thrive. So, as you can see, we have a jam-packed agenda. We're going to begin with kind of a quick overview about Sandag and the work we do across the region, and then we'll dive right into why we think you're all here, which is the Imperial Avenue Bikeway project. During this portion, you're going to learn all about the project features, what to expect during construction, and ways that you can stay up to date. We would imagine a lot of you are wondering, how long is it going to take, and what impact will there be, if any, to the street where I live? We're going to cover all of that and a lot more because this is your neighborhood, and we're here so we can share with you everything that we know. We are confident this is going to be a really exciting improvement that you're proud of, and we can't wait to make it happen together with the community. We're pretty excited if you can't tell. Following this, we'll open it up to questions. So there will be a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. You can use the chat function. Feel free to put your questions in as they pop up, or you can wait until the end. If we can't answer it right then, we'll still read it out, and then we'll send a summary of the answers to everyone who registered. As a reminder, please be respectful. We're all human beings with feelings, so inappropriate language will not be permitted, and disruptive participants will be removed from the webinar. If you're having a technical problem, please send us a message via the webinar chat, and our host will work with you to make sure we can get you connected. I also wanted to thank all of the passionate advocates and community members and council districts that have championed this project since years past, and waited really patiently as well. I see a lot of you are here, so thank you for joining us. All right, let's get started with a poll. We want to know how you found out about the webinar. You have a minute or so to answer this. I'm curious if we're going to hear other, because we're always wondering how people find out about our meetings. Okay. Is the poll, can you guys see the results? Looks like we have about a majority of you found out from email, so that's good to know. And then it's a tie between postcard mailer and word of mouth. So before we jump into the project, I just want to quickly remind everyone or introduce SANDAG to you for the first time if you haven't connected with us before. SANDAG stands for the San Diego Association of Governments, and we're the regional transportation planning agency that works for you. Sometimes people refer to us as sandbag on accident. It's close, but not quite, although we do use sandbag sometimes on construction projects. Our region has many different governments, cities, tribes, and it's a binational region. So SANDAG exists to basically bring everyone together and create a regional plan that serves everyone regardless of where they live within our region. You pay taxes, and then the federal and state government send some of that money back to San Diego because SANDAG exists to administer it. So we plan and build roads, highways, bike lanes, anything that helps you move around the region, microtransit services. We preserve natural resources and make sure that our work supports a safe and healthy environment. And we give resources directly to our communities, like this regional bikeway project, or funding to local jurisdictions to fix their roads and more. In doing this, we've been able to give the region more choices to get around, to support growth and sustainability, and to help us meet goals like greenhouse gas emissions. Biking, my personal favorite mode of transportation, is one of the most equitable forms of transportation. We're never going to tell people they have to bike, but if they want to, we at SANDAG believe they have the right to, and they have the right to do so in a safe place. Not only are biking and walking great for the environment, they can also help you save money, live a healthier life, and have more options to choose from. So as a reminder, by biking and walking, you can save on gas, maintenance, your car registration. We came across a study that said biking is almost 6 times cheaper than driving a car. So that's part of the reason why I choose to bike. I've saved a lot of money. It's also known to help you cut down on stress, which is a great thing. I can vouch for that. And with the beautiful weather we have here in San Diego, you can see this view from the Bayshore Bikeway. Biking is a great way to explore the region and maybe even get to know yourself and your family a little better. So SANDAG, as mentioned earlier, is your planning agency, and you might have heard of us from the bikeways we've planned. There's over 23 miles of protected bikeways built by SANDAG, and 15 miles are under construction currently across 3, soon to be 4 projects, and we have 18 miles nearing construction. But this is on top of the already 1,800 miles of bike paths around the region. However, those are not all protected and world-class like the Imperial Avenue Bikeway is going to be. So we're going to jump into one more poll. We have a lot of milestones coming up, and we want to know which one you're most excited about. So there's this one, the Imperial Avenue Bikeway. We have a Pershing grand opening happening later this summer, and another groundbreaking in North County called the Inland Rail Trail, which aligns with the sprinter. And if you don't know about any of these, that's okay, you're in the right place. Just another minute to answer these. It's a tie, it's a dead tie so far. I'm hoping someone will break the tie. No takers, okay. It's a tie between Imperial and Pershing, so you all have an exciting summer in store. Hope you're subscribed to our e-news because that's how we announce events as soon as we have the date set. So that's that. Let's move on to the project overview. One more thing, actually, before I hand it off to Chris, who's going to walk us through the project, I just want to give a heartfelt shout out to the construction team who's going to be building this project on their hands and knees, literally, over the next couple of years. So day and night, when it's raining, when it's hot in the summer, these people are out there working to bring this project to reality, and we want to acknowledge them. So if you see them out there in your neighborhood, thank them on behalf of us. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our Active Transportation Program Manager, Chris Kluth. He is the Wizard of Oz of bikeways, and we're really lucky to have him with us here tonight. He's going to provide an overview of the bikeway and the schedule and kind of what you can expect during construction. So as a reminder, feel free to drop questions into the chat as he's speaking. We'll get to them all at the end, or you can hold on to them and he'll probably answer them as we go.
All right, thanks, Rachel. Let's take a quick look at the schedule, a little bit of where we've been. Planning for this, we started way back in 2015. Wow, long time ago. For this project, we did quite a bit of outreach, and we used project ambassadors from, I think, somewhere between eight or nine different, or representing 8 or 9 different kind of groups throughout different parts of the corridor. You guys know it's about a 3.5 mile project, so it goes through lots of different neighborhoods, lots of different types of streets and things like that. So once we kind of got into outreach and talking to the community and seeing what some of the features were and the priorities that we heard about, we went about starting on the preliminary kind of design and engineering of the project. That took a couple of years. And then we presented kind of our findings and the draft plan and design to the community in 2019. We did get all kind of planner and wonky. We did the CEQA, California Environmental Clearance for the project in 2019 and presented all the findings and impacts in a couple of meetings to the community. And since then, we've been working on the final design. That did take a while. Took us a while to get through the design and the approval process at the city of San Diego. And so now we are finally into the construction phase, which we anticipate will take approximately 2 years. So now I'll go through the project. You guys are probably pretty familiar with most of this. Starts at 17th Street in downtown, runs all the way out to past the 15 and the 805 to 47th Street. And then we have a little jog. You can see that on your screen from 22nd and 20th Street. That connects over to the existing J Street cycle track that the city of San Diego has completed that project that goes all the way through downtown. I can't remember, to maybe State Street. So, this is part of a network. We also have another project down there in Barrio Logan, the Bayshore Bikeway Barrio Logan. So we're working on building out a network. We have another set of projects coming up that are just in the very beginning phases that'll start at 47th Street and go south from there. This is to give you an idea of how we're approaching the projects overall. Next project. So Imperial Bikeway, it's not the same. It's probably like 5 or 6 different streets that are all kind of pasted together. Some parts are older the older part of the commercial area down near downtown, and then some places further east are a little bit more busy out by the Home Depot and the other freeway, kind of everything in between. So when we build our projects, they're not just bike projects. We do try and incorporate as many pedestrian improvements in as we can that still kind of fit in the scope and the project, or in the budget of the project that we have. But we'll see like 3 or 4 different kinds of bikeways throughout the corridor. The first one that we try to put in as much as possible are separated bikeways, and that's where you're going to ride your bike that is completely separated by a physical barrier from the cars. And tons of studies show, and if you've been on some like this one here on 5th Street that we completed a couple years ago, you know, it's a much more comfortable feeling, and when you're riding there, and definitely we've seen a nice increase in use for that project, for example. So next one. And then some places where we may not have the space, or maybe there's already lower speed or lower car volume, a buffered bike lane is the most appropriate implementation there. So it's just adding some space between when you're riding and the cars that are driving, and then sometimes we can also add a buffer on between the parked cars and the bike lane itself. I think on Imperial, we have a combination of buffers on both sides, and then some places we have buffers between the bikeway and the car traveling. And let's see, so so here's some examples of some of the buffered bike lanes that you'll see, and some before and after in the kind of the western section there, down in the commercial area. Pretty wide buffer between the bike lane and the cars. And then a little further east, I think it's a combination. We have a little bit of separated bikeway out there where we can, and also a nice wide buffer. Next. And then you probably also know that there's lots of good bus service on Imperial, and sometimes there's space to have a separate bus boarding area, and sometimes there's not that much space. So we have a couple different bus island designs that we've incorporated into this project with the goal of making everything safer for people walking and biking and bus passengers. And the way these, at least not all of them, but many of the bus stops are configured, that'll actually let the bus get in and out faster. So we'll also be improving transit service throughout the corridor. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, we definitely look for opportunities to increase pedestrian accessibility and pedestrian safety. So in this project, we do have, I believe, one set of rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which you may have seen other examples of that around town. But we also have, I think, I may get this wrong, at least 6 or 8, Mark can correct me, our designer can correct me if I'm wrong, 6 or 8 other intersections, maybe more, where we are also incorporating some type of pedestrian bulb out to increase and improve visibility between cars and pedestrians, and then also shortening that distance when you do have to cross the street. I think we'll see in the next. So these bend outs is also an example of how pedestrian bulb outs can look as well. In this case, we are able to combine the benefits of the pedestrian pop out, and then also in intersections where we have a high number of right-hand turns from cars, the bikeway kind of goes up to the same level. It's still separated. You can see here visually from the walkway, but you go up onto the same level as the sidewalk, and that increases, again, visibility between the people riding and the people driving. These examples are up on Mead in North Park. They work really well. I think we've gotten a lot of good feedback from there. So we have a number of these which kind of serve a dual purpose in the project. And next. And there are a few places where we do have some shared lane markings where the volume and speed are low, and also where we use these to make sure that we have a clear path connecting one part of the bikeway to another. And we also do have some upgraded street lighting where we've made at intersections where we've made pedestrian improvements and other bikeway improvements. It isn't throughout the entire corridor, but at key intersections where we have made those improvements, we've brought the street lighting up to current standards. Another feature that you'll see that you may have seen some of these around town are the bike signals. So when there's a separated bikeway, kind of by design and by law, you have to have these separated bike signals. So cars and bikes know exactly when they're supposed to go. Again, you can see some of these on our project up on 5th Street or 4th in Uptown and Hillcrest. And then also the city of San Diego has them on several east-west corridors in downtown, like on Ash and 6th Street going north and south. We do have one area. It's another example of kind of we fit in the best facility we could. This is between 36th and Francis. It's kind of a wider high-speed roadway, but we were able to figure out a way to make some space to put a separated two-way bikeway. You can see that on the right-hand picture. So that'll be on the south side of the street. And then we're also doing some pedestrian improvements on the other side of the street. So we'll be making some connections to the rest of on either end of that to the rest of the bikeway. Should work pretty well. Okay. And then also, one of the things that we hear when we're out listening to folks and what they want to see is, it's always nice to see some nicer features built into the project. So where we can, we have incorporated some landscaping into. There's kind of two categories. We have it in where we're kind of required to put some stormwater treatment facilities. So there's landscaping in those. It's all drought tolerant, city approved native landscaping. And then I'm not sure that we have a separate slide for this, but we do have a part of the project that is associated with Community Housing Works affordable housing project, where it's down the stretch between I can't remember. It's at the east end down near the Home Depot. There'll be quite a bit of landscaping and kind of visual improvements incorporated into the medians there as part of the improvements that came along with the affordable housing project. So that's kind of exciting for us to be able to incorporate that in as well. So, okay, that's the kind of the overview of essentially what you'll see during or after the project is done. And so during construction, and we have 4 projects in construction now, so we're we're very we're very deep into this part of the projects. We will have, of course, you'll see traffic control, detours. There probably will be some noise during construction. Some detours, bike lanes some bike lanes will be closed. There'll be some shift in the vehicle lanes. Keep your eyes out for flaggers out there when the heavy trucks are moving in and out. And there may be some temporary parking restrictions as well during the construction period. But you'll know about all of these things beforehand if you sign up for our mailer. Our communications team sends out updates on the project and what to expect in your neighborhood and what's closest to you, like every couple weeks or every time something significant changes. Next, now here's some examples of what you'll see out there on the street when we're in construction. All right, that closes out my section for this, and I'll hand it back to Casey.
Thank you, Chris. As key members of the community, we want you all to feel informed about the Imperial Avenue Bikeway project and other Sandag bike projects. And that's why I'm here to talk to you about our public involvement program. My name is Casey Cross, and I work with public outreach here at Sandag. So just a little overview. Next slide, please. For Sandag's outreach, we're committed to informing the community as best we can. We do this through regular updates on the project's progress, as Chris was mentioning, that we do this typically through email or social media. So keep an eye out over the next couple of years for communication around detours, traffic control, as well as our monthly recaps of the work that has been completed. We also have an email address where you can reach out to us about any of the Sandag bike projects, and that email is right there at the bottom of the slide, gobybike@sandag.org. You'll see it again on the last slide of this presentation, along with our social media handles. And below that, you'll see our hotline number. It will take you directly to voicemail, and we check that mailbox regularly. So if you leave your name and number, you can expect someone from our communications team to give you a call back. Next slide, please. In terms of those email updates I mentioned earlier, there's an easy way to sign up for those. If you visit sandag.org/subscribe and you'll scroll down to Bikeway and Walkway projects, there's a little checkbox there for the Imperial Avenue Bikeway project. And we never want to overwhelm your inbox, so if you check that box, you'll only receive information about the Imperial Avenue Bikeway and our quarterly bike program updates. And again, that information includes monthly construction progress updates, advance noticing for road closures and changes to traffic control, and invitations to community meetings and events related to the project. Next slide, please. Another way that we use to contact the community is through these hard copy postcard notices. And maybe some of you are online tonight because you saw a construction notice in your mailbox. We typically send out a construction notice at the beginning of the construction period to let the community know that work is about to start. And we try to hit every business and residence within a certain radius of the project area. And then if there are any longer term construction impacts after the work has already begun, for example, this parking removal door hanger from another project, we'll be sure to give you ample notice via a door hanger and emails as well. It's very important to Sandag that the public is well informed about our projects and that we are good neighbors when we're in your community. So we do our best to make sure there are minimal disruptions. Next slide, please. And here's that information again for you to learn more about the project or get in touch with us. You can visit our website, sandag.org/bikes, to learn about any of our bike projects. And please follow us on social media. We post some really great content there about our efforts to improve transportation throughout the region, as well as opportunities to engage with us. And again, at the very bottom there is that email address, gobybike@sandag.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Casey and Chris. I learned a lot. We're going to go ahead and jump into the question and answer portion of the webinar. So feel free to drop those in the chat. I'm going to start with a few that have come in. When will the Imperial Avenue Bikeway project be completed and open to the public? The project is estimated to be completed and open to the public in 2026. Construction is anticipated to take approximately 17 months. So just under 2 years, and we can all hope for moderate amounts of rain. Can you elaborate on the project features of the Bikeway? Absolutely. Project features will include high visibility crosswalks, curb extensions, a separated bikeway, buffered bike lanes, bike boxes, bus islands, cycle track bus stops, bend outs. I'm gathering that we need to publish a glossary, which I believe we have in the works, so stay tuned for that. And we'll send out this slide deck as well if you want to see the photos and the renderings again. How was the project funded? Construction was partially funded by a very competitive grant administered by Caltrans, which is essentially the California Department of Transportation. It's called the Active Transportation Grant. So the region's half-cent sales tax for transportation administered by SANDAG funded another portion of it, mostly covering the planning, design, and the remainder of the construction as part of SANDAG's Bike Early Action Program, which was approved by our board of directors just over 10 years ago in 2013. Okay. Few more questions. A good question. How did the design team decide which features to include in what places on the project? SANDAG has worked extensively over the last 8 years with the community, with 3 different council districts, to come up with a project that we believe will best benefit the community. The team met with planning groups, a variety of community meetings, and considered a lot of feedback along with our requirements for CEQA and environmental clearance and other considerations like that. Question: how will parking be affected during and after construction? Some parking spaces will be compromised and turned into bike lanes. We don't know the exact number, but we'll include that in our follow-up of the questions and answers. Another question: will there be a net loss in parking? We'll try to figure out before the end of the webinar exactly how many spots. And as always, we don't see it as a loss for parking, but a gain for other modes and safer passage. Are Imperial segments going to be closed during construction? That's a good question. Looks like only one part. Imperial will close from Gillette to 36th Street during the wall construction. Another question: will notifications on project updates be sent to the property owner's home address in addition to property address? Project updates are primarily delivered through email notifications if there's a significant activity that will be right in front of someone's driveway or affect trash pickup or something. Hard copies such as postcards and door hangers and an outreach team member like myself would be out there. And that's typically only for longer term impacts, and it's rarely used outside kind of the announcing of construction. But we love communicating. You're going to hear from us if you sign up for those e-blasts, and like you saw, we have a phone number that we get back to you within a couple of days. So we're always ready to have a dialogue if you have questions or suggestions. Is there a petition for no bike lanes? You're asking the wrong person for that, because I am on the other side of that debate. So we welcome all different perspectives and feedback. I don't know if there is a petition. You're welcome to find it and sign it if there is. Another question: how will businesses be affected during construction? Will there be any help Will there be any to help them not lose business due to construction? Absolutely. We're really committed to helping you, communicate with the public that you're still open during business, so we can provide signs where, we want to ensure that your business is not affected. We're happy to set up time to talk with you about your specific location. So please email us, gobybike@sandag.org, reference, I heard the webinar, I'm a business, I'm on this location. We can even come out and do a site walk and figure out how do we arrange the construction activity in front of your business so that it's opportune for patrons to come and access your business. And of course, there will be signage about business open during construction. Is there any sort of map showing what the final project will look like? Something that shows where the different types of features and lanes will be implemented? That's a great question. So the plans are a public record and are available. They're really detailed. They're sort of drawn from like the engineering lens for the construction itself. However, if you have questions about specific intersections, we can either create a visual, walk you through that rendering so you understand what different features are being provided. And if you'd like to request the plans in depth, we can certainly provide those too. They're really large files, so we usually send them on a WeTransfer or something. So send us an email, we can get you all that information. Why are none of these meetings in person and inside the Imperial Avenue corridor? We had an in-person meeting April, I believe. So I'm sorry to hear that word didn't make it to you. It was at the YMCA on Imperial. And this was our attempt to meet people in a different format. So if you didn't hear about that one, please let us know how we can best get in touch with you. We're happy to come out into the community and host another Q&A session throughout construction. We host a virtual session for every meeting, just so that people that couldn't make it to an in-person event are able to participate. But when we come out in person, we do our best to have childcare and refreshments. We had a great turnout. Actually, some of those photos were from the event we had at the YMCA. Can you provide a download link for the plans? We can email you a link. It's part of just like security and IT that we don't have all of those on our website, but please drop your email into the chat or email us gobybike@sandag.org and you'll get the full plans. Lots of great questions. Thank you all for participating. Keep them coming if you have more. Where will the equipment be stored? It's a good question. The project team is still determining that. Same thing, we'll let you know as soon as we know. We're in the pre-construction phase, so lots of logistics are being determined as we speak. Who's going to be in charge of the maintenance of the plants? Another great question. And they're all they're drought resistant, I believe, so there's a little bit less maintenance than some others. The city will take over the maintenance of the plants when the bikeway is complete and the plant establishment period has been concluded. So once the plants have grown strong roots. Has anything changed with the designs now that the daylighting law has been passed? That's a great question. In case anyone's not aware of daylighting, it's a new law. It's a state law that prohibits parking on a corner, essentially. So within 20 feet of an intersection in any direction, because this opens up the visibility for people driving to see people biking and vice versa. And it's proven to reduce collisions between people on cars and people on bikes. So while the daylighting laws were passed after the design of this bikeway, they came into effect on January 1st of 2024. Parking removal will comply with new daylighting laws, which again restrict cars from parking within 20 feet of a marked or unmarked crosswalk. All right, I've got your email to send you a copy of the plans. Keep your eye out for that. Will there be a hotline for concerns, 24-hour hotline or a field office? Yes, we have a hotline. It's in my phone. Let me pull it up. can share my screen so you have this up again. The hotline is 833-899-2453. And if someone could drop that in the chat. I can do that actually. Right. Any other questions? We'll hang around for another few minutes.